It's kind of like
I went with that, but it's because
My
wardrobe is my wardrobe is not eclectic, so
that's okay. Yeah. It kind of would be weird if it was. I think
at this point it would be very strange if all of a sudden I showed up in like a salmon color shirt.
Oh my God! Don't do that.
I would never do that. I don't own one, so it would never happen.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now that we've covered fashion for this evening, we should probably start this podcast.
Oh yeah, we're doing a podcast. That's cool.
It's time for Bourbon with Friends, the bourbon podcast that never takes itself too seriously. Pull up a chair, grab a glass, and remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bourbon with Friends. Myself, Brian, Adrian, and Martin are here to talk about whiskeys from around the world and how a bourbon with friends or whiskey can change the world. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We are recording on Cinco de Mayo, by the way.
Yeah, I got a margarita here to celebrate. Cheers.
She's celebrating. We've got whiskey, which is the national drink of Cinco de Mayo. So,
is it?
It's not. No, it's not.
What? Wait a second.
Tequila, but like,
there's tequila. No. There's tequila in mine.
I'd imagine there is. What kind of tequila? Are you getting fancy with it now that you sip fancy tequila?
Well, our bad neighbor friends introduced me to a brand called Mi Gente.
Oh gosh,
it's a woman-owned brand. I bought that. I don't know. The last time I was in Chicago, Friendsgiving.
Got it.
That's when I did it. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
And what kind of a tequila is it?
Tequila Blanco.
Okay. That's
nice.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yep.
Ryan, did you make a Cinco de Mayo related drink today? Brian? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Just lied. Just make it up. Just nobody knows. But no, I agree. I am not a tequila fan. I think both Brian and I, again, if you guys, for those listening, we all met up a week or so ago, and Brian and I did not really drink any tequila.
You don't like tequila at all?
No, I do. I don't mind the taste. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just not a drink that I like all that much. Yeah, I don't know if it's the
interesting.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I enjoy it, Adrian. It just has to not be cheap tequila. I found out.
Well, I would agree. I think that crosses the board for all spirits, right?
Yeah.
If you're drinking spirits from the well, you can pretty much bank on having a hangover or something the next day. You should be drinking premium spirits if you'd like to feel halfway decent.
100%.
The next day.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. And I did that. Was it Fortaleza? I did try that over the weekend, and actually I liked it, but I couldn't see myself having a lot of it because I don't know where my limit is with tequila. I know my limits with whiskey and things like that.
That's true. I don't know that it would be any different. Would it be different? You think
it would be different? Yeah. One day,
actually, don't drink enough tequila.
I just know that the last time that I drank tequila was with a guy from Australia. We got way too drunk, and I tried to take my TV off my wall. So that's the last time, and I'm basing that off of that I should probably never drink tequila again because I like TVs. You drank
tequila with an Australian.
That's true. It might have been the Australian then. Yeah, it's the Australian. Okay, that was the factor in it. Well, what we're talking about today.
Perfect. Well, let's do the.
Well, I don't want to. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll insult the Australians. I love them.
Speaking of Australians, this guy's a little down under, closer to a border of the U.S. I mean, he is at Arizona.
There's nothing down under about this gentleman.
But I mean, close enough. I was trying to figure out something to go along with it down under.
I know. He's probably more in the land of the Vegas, right? Isn't that where?
Yep. Yep.
State. Yeah.
Fuck off. I mean, a lot of Australians fly in there and lose money.
Mm-hmm.
This is going horribly, you guys.
The master distiller.
This is why I do the connections.
Oh.
happy Cinco de Malto.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought that would be the natural whiskey transition. We're up closer to Reno, so we're about 8-9 hours north of Vegas.
Yeah. I didn't know until not very long ago that Reno is like 6 hours from Vegas. I did not know that.
Is it really?
Yeah, it can be a bit of a haul.
It's far.
We are about 20 minutes from South Lake Tahoe, though, so that's hardly a bad thing.
No, that's not bad at all.
No, it's great. I like going up there.
Yeah, I would love to go there.
Thanks for having me on, everybody.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. We're happy to have you. So to get things started off, and doing a little bit of research about the distillery, I was reading about you as well. Can you give us a little bit of background? It seems you have a bit of a storied past and like quite a bit of experience. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I've had an extremely fortunate career. I mean, it's when you get in early on something and you can kind of recognize that it's probably a good wave to ride, you tend to get some highlights in your career that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And I started off working for a man named Steve McCarthy in 2005 at a small distillery renowned for fruit brandies called Clear Creek Distillery. That was the third craft distillery in the country. And then after that, I moved to New York City in 2010, worked on a lot of the first distilleries there, either as a consultant or actually running them as a head distiller. And in 2017 was brought back to the Northwest to join Hood River Distillers, which had acquired Clear Creek Distillery at that time and was known predominantly for Pendleton whiskey at that point. So there was the occasional flight to Canada to work with the Pendleton team and what they were making up there. But still, it was more of a distiller role that was an observation of many different smaller distilleries, where one I was always working at. I was always working at Clear Creek, but I had oversight of Big Gin and as well as the other HRD brands. And when I got approached to work at Minden Mill, it seemed like just this next massive step in my career, because at Clear Creek we were working directly with orchardists. We were making this really fancy James Beardy style pear brandy and apple brandy. It's all the stuff that me and Todd Leopold like to talk about. But when I was offered this position at Minden, it meant that I could grow my own grain. And that aspect of whiskey, growing your own grain, was something I never had the luck of doing. And you jump at a chance like that. I mean, what we're doing here is definitely that next level and that next stage of whiskey within the United States.
I'm actually just checking out the American Single Malt right now.
And so I've had a pretty wonderful career. I don't think I've ever had a low point as a distiller. I'm just really happy to be here, and I've definitely seen some craziness over the years, and I've learned how to coop barrels, and I've taken apart more pumps than I care to think about, and I've made a lot of blends, and I've really worked with some of the best people in the industry, for sure. Immensely proud to be part of them.
That's amazing. What's one thing that when you started you disliked doing it, but now it's actually one of your favorite aspects of distilling?
Honestly, I would say when I first started, it was really impossible to get me on a bottling line. I mean, I would do it, but I don't think there was ever a time where I wouldn't play hooky or run away to do something else or feign a reason to not be on the bottling line. And now I find those days to be some of the most joyful of me and my team. I think in part because I'm often traveling or I'm locked in my office doing master distillery work, but I don't always feel like I'm in the trenches doing production with everybody. And I think a lot of master distillers feel that way. A lot of head distillers too. So with the days that we can wind up bottling together are actually really sweet and nice. And we make fun of each other and listen to whatever ridiculous dad rock seems to suit everybody the most.
Okay, hold on.
I've always wanted to bottle. I don't know what it is or why. That's the one thing I've always like putting the labels on, all the stuff, like the whole.
Yeah, bottling is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that part of it, but I don't know. I've always been very interested in the actual labor of actually doing the work.
If you want to come on down, I'm pretty sure that anybody will jump off the line in order to make some room for you.
Give me a chance. They'll train me how to do it.
Absolutely. You can learn how to do the same thing on repeat for 8 hours straight.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of got a sending your kids to college vibe. You know what I mean? Like it's like you watch them do their thing, grow up, and now you're like, well, this is it. This is the last time we the spirit's out there now. It's got to do its own thing. And I can see at first you're like, I don't want to do that shit. Like it's just like I don't have to go through that whole that part. I want to do the first part, but there is kind of that. Well, now it's like you said, it's that last moment, kind of with everybody with that spirit, kind of sending them off. So it's it definitely could be I could see how that's a nice moment, but at first it seems kind of like I don't want to do this at all.
The other side of that coin that has to be mentioned is that every distiller who reaches that master head distiller level, if they've gone through the process of also being a barrel room lead or just in charge of the barrel room in general and all that basic assessment of blends, every one of us wishes we had stayed right there. That is easily the best job in the entire industry. And just if you get in a barrel room, hold on to it, never leave. But one of the greatest joys I've ever had was I have this wonderful woman who I helped mentor up a little bit and has just become a very good friend, Caitlin Bartlemay from Hood River Distillers. And Caitlin stole my barrel room. So watching her have to hand it over, sweaty, clammy hands to Garrett Trotter, who's her apprentice, was just the best joy of my life. I love seeing her hand it over because I know how painful it was for me to give it to her.
That's amazing. And I don't think I don't think we've really ever heard it from that angle. And we've interviewed obviously like a lot of different distillers, but I kind of like hearing it from that perspective.
Oh, the one where you get to torture your colleagues by saying you can't have this anymore? Yeah, that's the
thing. They have sweaty hands. Things like that. Yeah, I like it.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of work to go. Yeah. We're very hands-on in everywhere I've ever worked. So sweaty hands, dirty hands, dirty hands.
Exactly. All work.
Yes.
So Minden Mill is all about single estate whiskey. You grow the barley, the malt on site. And so I always get a lot of guff for this word, this terroir word. It's not my favorite word. I'm going to be honest with you. But is giving Nevada Thai Desert terroir in the glass, is that truly what it is, or is that do you think that's more of a buzzword?
I at one point I would have said it was a buzzword. That was coming, and that would have definitely come from a lack of experience. But there's something real that happens when you challenge anything that grows, whether it's an animal or a vegetable, whatever it is. And you don't give it ideal conditions, and you develop character from that. There has been a bunch of poo-pooing about what terroir is, especially within whiskey, and I get it. I mean, within wine, terroir is a little bit amorphous and kind of a selling point for estates, but within whiskey, what we're doing is kind of different with estate distilling. One, there's rules around it. So in order to be an estate distillery in Nevada, you have to grow 85% or more of all of your fermentable goods. If you don't, then you can lose your license and get shut down. And so there's accountability to what you're doing too. Now, on the larger scale, you have the Estate Whiskey Alliance, which is put together by the Beam Institute, which we're members of. And their rules are 75% to maintain certification. But these sort of aspects are really, that's what's going into proof terroir. Take our winter rye, for example. I love our rye. It has this incredible citrus quality that a lot of people don't pick up with rye because they're getting rye out of Canada, where the majority of rye is being grown. And that's going to have a lot of peppery quality to it. Rye comes from Russia, it comes from Poland. It wants that cold, wet environment. It doesn't want to grow in Tennessee. It's just too damp. It gets really moldy. Lots of ergot grows in it. It comes across in the distillate. corn wants to grow there because it's been bred to grow there for thousands of years. But rye, just transporting it into the US, that was very difficult. Grows fantastic in Canada, far more similar environment to Poland, Russia, right? Here, being in the high desert, we get all of that cold and we're dry as can be. So we're not getting any of that mold that will come into it, but it's still not ideal growing conditions. These challenging conditions develop character within the grain itself. And so one of the things we're doing right now as partners within the Estate Whiskey Alliance is we are assigning, how do we go about and scientifically prove that climate has an effect on flavor characteristics within grain post distillation? And we were in a meeting on Friday with their researchers on just how to do this. And so I understand why people are hesitant about the word terroir within whiskey. I get it. I wish there was a less mouthful word that we could come up with that feels a little bit more natural. That's the only reason I don't
like it. It's nothing about the word itself. I just don't like the word. But
it's hard to say.
Other thing, it's not fun. No. One thing I would want to ask, though, you mentioned that you keep mentioning the word flavor. So is there a specific flavor that you're aiming for? Or could you give a specific flavor that you're finding that is in your whiskey?
That second one is going to be a little bit easier for sure. We noticed that as opposed to black pepper with our winter rye, we're getting more of a citrus appeal. Now, we're using for our corn, we're not growing yellow dent corn. We're growing an earth tones corn. So it's an heirloom corn. It looks like Indian corn, what most people think of it, right? Decorative corn that you have on your porch at Halloween. That has a very strong cola note to it. It's got a ton more carotenoids and anthocyanins and all these coloring characteristics. It's not as high in starch. It's higher in protein. And all of that comes across very differently in the distillate. But for our purposes, we like what it contributes. So that I wouldn't call terroir because I don't have a comparison. But with the winter rye is just winter rye. No one's putting decorative rye on their porch during Halloween. So that's why I feel very comfortable to say, like, hey, if you take this same plant and you grow it in a different location, you get a different expression of what that plant tastes like. And even though it still took me maybe 8 years to say it correctly, that would be terroir. That's kind of the definition of it. And as part of what we're doing is we're trying to do a little bit better. That's actually provable. And why is it provable? Yeah. And that's what estate distilling offers, is that it can, like, hey, this can only come from here. You can't reproduce it anywhere else.
Yeah. I think there's like a hesitancy for terms that come over from the wine world in general. And I feel like that one definitely did. So I feel like it's another one. It's like, well, that has its definition because, there's specific regions that everything comes from, even things like cognac, things, it's clear that there's a definition that they know where everything was sourced from, came from. I think that when they started applying it to whiskey, it was harder to, like, people were using it for anything when they could have been getting their barley from here, their water from here, like wherever its source is. So people were just applying it as more of like it became a little of a stuffy term, I think, is what it kind of started to feel like. And it shouldn't, because it's actually very accurate. So I think that's the split on why people don't like it so much.
It is 100% an abused term. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. But we're fighting to reclaim that, to drop back a little bit, so it actually has meaning to the people who want to buy something that has a unique character.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to get into the American single malt whiskey a little bit, because this was officially recognized as a new category in the U.S., right? And I could state beyond a reasonable doubt almost that you had a significant impact in helping this out, start from where you came from, as well as what you're doing to this day. Now, coming as a little bit of a skeptic myself on a bunch of different stuff out there, I've always wondered the impact of the labeling and the whiskey itself comparative to the drink. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. No. I cut you off. Please finish what you're saying.
And then just your experience in giving this new challenge and label. How is it generally impacting the whiskey itself, or how are you maneuvering the American single malt to its beloved spot where it should be? I think over. But that's just me.
I mean, buckle up. I got a spiel for you. I talk about good turns in my life and good moves in my career. Steve McCarthy, the man who trained me, was the man who invented American single malt. And so for me, this has always been a much more personal fight. The guy who gave me a break that made the life I have now through that opportunity, I want his name to be ultimately forever synonymous with something as timeless as American single malt, because when you have Japanese single malt and Australian single malt and Indian single malt, never ever sleep on Indian single malt. There's so much good stuff. And then of course Scotch, like, you're now, as America, we're playing in that larger field, in that larger market. And that Steve was the man who started that within this country is something that I take very, like, that's a lot of reverence. What a cool guy to know, and what a cool guy to believe in you. So when the American Single Malt Commission started, and mind you, I wasn't a founding member by any means, but I jumped on right as the second I heard about it and started getting in touch with Steve Hawley, who's, absolutely wonderful, and became really good friends with the folks at 888 and Balcones and Santa Fe Spirits and down the line, right? And did everything I could. Every opportunity I've had, I have worked with them, and doing modules for the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy. And this was all for one kind of, really two goals, I would say. The first is, if the question is, has it helped bottle sales? Surprisingly to me, absolutely. We are seeing so much more attention to American single malt now than I have ever seen in my career, which I didn't expect that to be the reaction. I kind of thought that this was a little bit of like, we're going to do this, we're going to ratify it, we're going to cross all of our T's. We are going to make sure that American single malt is written in rules that allow for a lower bar of entry. We wanted to make sure that you could partner up with a local brewery. We wanted to make sure that you could use used barrels. We wanted to make sure that a lot of the immediate expenses that came across for a new distillery who wanted to make whiskey were kind of, they weren't an issue. We wanted to make sure that they themselves could produce a whiskey without those additional expenses of having to grow to have your own mash tun. And that was a huge part of what we're going into. So that was number one, low bar of entry. It's going to push the industry forward. We're going to make some really cool spirits. Two, we wanted to make sure it was something of quality. I did not want American single malt, nor did anybody else on the commission, to be this non-defined, vague thing that could wind up being doctored or messed with in a way that made American single malt be the worst single malt, because I believe that we will be the best single malt, and we're going to be the best single malt for one really cool reason. Where you have Scotland and you have Islay and you have Highland, you have Speyside, Lowland, you have all these different expressions that came across as aspects of what of terroir with peat and what they could work with, but also were cultural, where people were like, we're going to be the fruity flavored whiskeys up here. And, we're going to be very approachable, and we're going to be the big smoky peat bombs. And so there's a combination of intention and just kind of what you're working with. And we have a bazillion really interesting expressions that come out of Scotland. Now you take that same experiment and you put it on something the size of the US, where you can have that same single malt under these open rules of making sure that you just, as long as it's 100% barley and it's made from one distillery, you can use all these different barrels. You take that and you blow it up to the size of the US. And in 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50, you're going to have this massive expression of what single malt can be on a scale that's never been done before. And so when I say there's going to be a future for American single malt, it's because if we have all of these little nuances in the regionality of Scotland and Japan with their single malt, and they're so much smaller than us as a geographic size, this experiment is going to be kind of like impressive to the world, to the distilling world. Will look at this, because we can do anything from Homer, Alaska down to Waco, Texas, from the middle of the country to like right by the Great Lakes. And those environments are going to be rapidly, wildly different. And the cultures are going to be different. And all of that is going to inform what those flavors taste like. Because some of the most wild, smoky, barbecue perfect single malts I've ever had come from Texas. And that's not by accident. I mean, you're not getting a lot of good California barbecue single malt. That's just not a thing that is going to be there, but you will get it from Texas, and you will get it from North Carolina, because the culinary efforts are going to affect that too. So that's what's ultimately really cool. Making sure that it was done right, so it's something of distinction, making sure that anybody can get in and there wasn't just money trying to keep people out, and making sure that the future, that American single malt is going to be inspiring, and bourbon and rye are going to kind of be the same. They're not going to really change too much. So this is just a huge new set of colors that we as distillers get to paint with.
I think it's
that's a great fucking answer. I'm just gonna be quiet. You keep
No, I did tell you to buckle up. I warned you it's going to be intense. You got to come to work every day. You might as well come up with a personal reason to do it.
Yeah, but like for me personally, that answer is I don't know if this is like a weird way to describe it, but that to me that's security, because I know that myself, and we'll get Adrian there eventually. We'll get it at American Single Malt side, I promise. But like a lot, I know that as a whiskey, that the chunk of people that I'm friends with within the community, we've been pushing this American Single Malt whenever we can, because we know that it can be amazing. Brian, obviously, with 10th Mountain, they have their own American Single Malt, so obviously that's something that they want to become popular. But there was always that fear for me that because of bourbon and rye being, it's the big one here in America. It just is. Like it'll be, I don't know that it'll ever not be the biggest. But what I was kind of fearful is maybe like the hesitancy towards American Single Malt, the wrong people kind of spearheading it and trying to push it towards a more popular mainstream thing. But like the way you described that's a very secure, that like their passion is there, because you're right. It's going to, like you said with Texas, right? Isla used what they knew to make peated whiskey. They used peat because that's what was on an entire island. They used what they had. So just to think about the different areas that are going to be defined by American Single Malt for different ways they can do it is how I wanted it to go. And so that's really reassuring. And it's amazing that you guys have that passion, that direction in mind, because that's going to shape the rest of it. And I really appreciate that.
Well, if you haven't had the Andalusian Striker,
yep.
I mean, I was just trying to quickly look to see what barrels they had in there, what wood they were smoking it with, because it is like an incredible experience to have that with some very heavy, fatty barbecue.
So they are using, from what I know, because I have a buddy who goes there quite often, so he knows Moose, who's the master distiller down there at Andalusia.
Everybody needs to know Moose.
Everybody
shout out to Moose Allen right now. He's the best guy ever.
So yeah, no, they're doing some incredible stuff. I remember just driving by their place one time, like, what the hell is this? This is like 2019. And I just went in there and I'm like, oh, they're making a single malt. This is odd, because, now that's two places that I really love in Texas that are doing that. So it was starting to kind of bubble. And yeah, Andalusia is fantastic stuff. So yeah, no, but again, that was a fantastic answer.
I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, it's and you should see every time we have an American Single Malt Whiskey Commission meeting, it's one of the highlights of my year is when we all get together and hang out and pour a couple of glasses for each other. And I mean, that's how you discover things. That's how I discovered the Quintessential out of Cedar Ridge.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Yeah, Murphy's making one of the best whiskeys out there. Yeah. If you can't tell, I mean, to everyone listening right now, this is we're a very close family of distillers out there. Yeah. Amongst producers, there is no competition. We all help each other. We all want to be helpful to each other, and we show each other support.
Yeah, and that's how this happened. So I mean, like it would not have ratified, I don't think, if there was the commission and so many wonderful people. It's super cool, and that's actually how I'd heard your name, because I was talking to people like Murphy, talking to people people from Balcones, and then Boulder Spirits and things like that. And I was like, like Alistair over there. So it was just one of those things. I'm just like, okay, it's happening. I really hope it does. Yeah. And now being on the other side of it is super cool, man. So yeah, just appreciate all your guys' work getting it to this point, because it's going to be fun as hell. I mean, this is how
it was such a great group effort. I'm so proud to be part of that crew.
Yeah. So we kind of obviously have touched upon the fact that you worked with Steve McCarthy. And I guess we'll try to a lot of what I was going to ask you answered, which is amazing. What is the biggest lesson you took from working under him? Like, if you could sum it up in like a paragraph, like a sentence, like actually let's do a sentence. I like sentences.
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson that I ever learned from Steve was that you get a lot more creative answers from limitations than you do from open boundaries. That's amazing. and that to work on a blank piece of paper and just say, do what you want, you typically don't get a lot of great art. But if you know what you're trying to achieve and you're given the limitations of a color palette or of a size, it's incredible what people will do. And so one of the things we did early on at Clear Creek was that all raw materials had to come from within 50 miles of the distillery. And that meant that we said no to a lot of projects. We later on expanded to 200 because we desperately wanted to make a cranberry liqueur. So there really wasn't any choice but to go to the beach. But that is something I apply even here today. And it sounds easy when you have an estate distillery where all the grain's coming from 3 miles away to be like, well, of course I'll keep it within 50 miles. But when you start expanding it into a coffee liqueur that we've released, where we work with a roastery that's right in town, like that sense of trying to keep a small footprint financially as well as aspirationally, it does make some really cool products. And giving yourself limitations in design and not just trying to be an auteur in a distillery at all times is like, you get better results. And sometimes it also means you get to kill darlings, which nothing has given me more joy at times than when I've worked really hard to design something and then I put it out there to the marketing team or I put it out to the sales team and it just gets resoundingly shot down. It doesn't mean the product is bad, but it means I never have to open those doors again. And it means that I have another limitation, which means I get to be 10 times more focused on whatever direction I'm going.
That's good. I like that. I think we might have our title for the podcast too. So got that covered out of the answer.
Is it Killing Darlings? Is that what the
answer? That was it. Yeah. It was it. That's very, I like that one. But no, that is, and you use words in there that I pick up on because I come from writing, and you said things like auteur, so like I was just like, okay, definitely more of like the film term, but I love the way you applied that to that because that is absolutely such a. I imagine there's so much closeness and get very precious with certain things and ideas, and you just can't.
Yeah, you can't. When it's time for something to be done, you gotta kill it. It's just the nature of it, and you can come back to it later on. I mean, I like to read a lot, and I also like to watch a lot of movies. I take on these ridiculously hard tasks with books, like reading every Discworld novel, for example, and I read all sorts of books, the fancy to the non-fancy. But I decided, like a total fool, that I'm going to read every Stephen King novel.
Oh boy!
And even though I'd read all of the Gunslinger series in which Father Callahan comes into it, but he's a character from Salem's Lot that disappears, and you don't know what happened to him. It's a great example of sometimes you come back to an idea.
Yeah.
And to me, you can still book that in somewhere, put it away, but if it doesn't apply to this, well, you don't have to fight for it, and you need to take that time to say, okay, I need to reset and do something better.
Yep. Absolutely, I love that, and I know they'll yell at me if I keep asking you Stephen King questions because this isn't a film podcast. But after the podcast we got to talk.
Yeah, we can talk.
I love Stephen King.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I'm on the single mode if we want to talk about this.
Yeah, let's go single mode because this is a fun one. I'm really enjoying this a lot.
Okay.
Adrian, Do you want to pull up the tasting notes?
I got it.
We're wrong or not?
I'm on it. It's 100% estate grown barley malted on site, 5 year.
It's a malted all on site. We have an auto malter. We have a floor malting room. None of this is floor malted stuff. We decided to save that for limited releases in the future. One of the great things about our facility is that we are a split facility. We can see in the image behind me, that's called the mill because it's the old grain mill. Mm-hmm. But if you were to look to my, this side over here, that'd be my left. You would see another building called the Creamery, and it's an old creamery. That's how we got those names. The Creamery, we make all of the bourbon, the rye, and our vodka. But in our mill, we do our single malt. And we have an entire building just for that for one reason. It takes different requirements to make a really interesting single malt. One of the key things that you can do is make sure you have really good equipment. I love making bourbon and rye on hybrid stills. Heck, McCarthy's is made on a hybrid still. I like making single malt on hybrid stills too. But with ours, because we are kind of I wouldn't say we're pedants by any means, but we certainly like to adhere to tradition as much as we can using as much technology as possible. We have 2 Forsyth stills. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Forsyths are 6th generation or more still manufacturers, just amazing copper pot stills, beautiful pieces of equipment. Yep. And when we ordered these, they did not arrive on time. So as the story goes, the company had flown the patriarch of the family, the Forsyths, out and showed them this massive cathedral. It's a single malt that we were building, and explained what we were going to do with it. And they said, this is really impressive. And then they turned and they explained the thermal oil calandria. And I'm going to tell you about that in a second, but I don't want to lose the thread. He explained the thermal oil calandria. And he said, that's really cool. When did you want those stills? And our brand ambassador jokingly said, 3 weeks ago. Well, 3 weeks later, we got notification to expect something coming in through customs. And one day after these stills arrived and were put in place, one of our distillers, Chelsea, was cleaning it. And she looked down. She said, there's something written on the door. And she kind of turned her head to the side because it was upside down, and it says right there, McKellen number 9. So we had jumped the line on a McKellen order in order to get those stills. They were so impressed by what we were doing. I really do think it was the calandria, because one of the cool things, and original Clear Creek was all direct fire. So I was direct fire trained distiller. I understand why it's going away. I get why the fire chief from Minden didn't want a bunch of huge flames next to explosive vapor in the middle of their town. I know it sounds like we're a nanny state, but I kind of agree with that one. So getting rid of direct fire makes sense. However, with our system, the insert that heats the wash that will become the whiskey is heated by a thermal oil calandria system. So instead of heating up water to a low pressure steam, which is only going to top off at about 120 degrees Celsius, we can heat this thermal oil up to whatever temperature we want. We cook at about 185 degrees Celsius. And the important thing about this is that is above the 160 degrees Celsius line of the Maillard reaction. And the Maillard reaction is what's put sear on steak and crumb on bread, and all of the deliciousness ever there was in the world comes from this exchange of high heat and carbon chains. And to be able to do that in a safe way, replicating direct fire in our copper pot stills, we can get ester development that exceeds anything else. And so you get this really amazing fruitiness that comes out. These high esters are being formed in the new make. And I mean, to me, that was like, once they showed me that during my "Do you want to work here" tour, I basically said, I was saying yes in my head long before. Yeah. How cool is that, right? Like, we were the first, I believe we were the first distillery to do it. We were certainly, I mean, those are the kind of claims that you make, and then you're like, have I really dug into that? If we weren't the first, whoever was first, I'm sorry. Please get in touch with me. I'll correct it. But I think we were the first because I know they're teaching that system at kind of distillery engineering schools. And I've met really wonderful people from across the world who have come and stayed at my house simply because they were a distiller from China who wanted to see this system. And I was like, oh, just crash with me. I'll bring you in the next day. You can hang out and we can try a bunch of stuff. And I show them around. It's getting around this system. And I quite honestly think it makes some incredible American single malt. It's also really energy efficient, which is the other cool part.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. But as far as maintenance, it's got to be a little bit easier too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just always going.
Sustainable.
Yeah. Listen, I don't mean to just, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but we're a LEED Gold certified facility, which takes something. We were definitely one of the first distilleries. We're trying to do as much as we can, but we're still trying to do it right. And the best way to be efficient in a distillery is to make sure that all of that energy you put into heat is reclaimed in some sort of fashion. So there's very few places where heat's generated where it's not used to either heat a building or to cool down something later on, or because through just a counterflow chiller. There's lots of ways that we do everything we can to try to reclaim all of that energy we spend in heating things up.
Well, that made me extremely jealous beyond all means.
I am really sorry. There's even cooler stuff that's happening out near us.
Don't be sorry. Amazing.
We're not sorry on this podcast. We're not sorry. What I do want to say is I think we should talk about the single malt a little bit and let these gentlemen talk about the flavor. And I want to know if you both can kind of give me, I want to test you on if you can tell me what the single malt was matured in, if maybe you can give me some guesses around that.
Oh yeah, I want to hear what your answers are too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I haven't, in fairness, hold on.
I know I'm putting you on the spot, but there's not a significant amount of notes listed, but there are some. The maturation is listed.
Okay.
And it gives some specific things. So
obviously, I mean, well, I'm looking at the bottle. Obviously, it's 5 years. So it is 5, or is that kind of just
It's a 5 year. Yeah.
It's a 5 year. Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing older in it at this point. It's strict 5.
Okay. Just up to China.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's obviously ex bourbon.
Yeah. That's one. Ding, ding, ding. You got one.
Obviously American because it's American oak because it's American single malt.
Ding, ding, ding. 2. There's one more.
I'm gonna go with some type of sherry.
Boom! You guys are so good.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep, that's all 3. Bang, bang,
yeah,
bang.
you nailed it.
I actually didn't.
Yeah, so
I didn't think that.
We've used PX and Oloroso for aging our single malts. We also use STR barrels, shaved toast rechar wine. It's the other one that's on there. And single malt is going to be one of those ones where we're going to let the whiskey decide for itself. And in terms of what the blend needs, if we need to kick out a used bourbon because we think that particular batch is better with one less used bourbon than the standard, barrel order, we're going to do it. And that's entirely because I think that's what single malt needs. It should have variety. It should have life, and it needs to be a little untamed in order to be made well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wrote down a shit ton of tasting notes while you've been talking, and I've been learning a lot more than I'm going to retain tonight.
Is this one of those cussing shows that I start cussing?
Oh God, yeah, you should hear us.
Oh God damn it, hell.
Yeah, there you go.
Shit. Can you remove that, please?
Yeah, no.
We just don't like the word terroir. That's it.
No. It's not even 4 letters. I don't understand why.
Martin, it's moist.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all have our own. We all have our own word, and I learned the word terroir very early on because when we started this whole thing, I was kind of new to the whiskey game. I've gotten a lot better in the last, I don't know, however many episodes we've done. But terroir. So ever since the beginning, the first time somebody brought that word up, I've been ostracized for it. So I've embraced it at this point.
I try to make very strong direct eye contact and say mouthfeel.
Oh yeah, you have to, and you got to say it because that's a word that you can feel, like you can see. It's one of those words. I don't know what those are called. Is that onomatopoeia?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's like where you like when you say it, you're like you feel it, and you're just like it's really uncomfortable if it's
Joe, I really hope you know that's going to be a short right there.
It's gotta be.
I hope so.
Oh my god.
Oh no! Anytime someone looks at you and says mouthfeel, it's like a car crash. You know it's coming, and you're just like, "Oh, stop, please."
Well, that's what moist is for me. And there's only a few situations to use that word in, right? So it's another one of those.
We're not going to go into those now.
Well, I was going to give an example.
That's another show.
That's the after show.
Let's go into the tasting notes because I'm a little curious on what you got off the nose.
Okay. Nose? Are we, okay.
Nose and then the palate, because that's all I wrote down. But
first of all,
there's not a lot listed here. I'm just going to tell you. But
first of all, Joe, I want to say something, my friend. I've been drinking Cedar Ridge Quintessential pretty much all weekend, along with Kilkerran. That's pretty much all I've been drinking all weekend. And like when you get like I said, the only one I had not tried was the American Single Malt. I had tried the bourbon and the rye. I was waiting for you to be here to try the single malt, and it's up there, man. Like honestly, this is fucking fantastic. I was trying not to react when I was drinking it earlier because
why?
Because I didn't want him to know. Like I like the element of surprise. So like I just like wanted to be, hey,
this man puts his blood, sweat, and tears.
I was gonna reveal it now,
and you're not gonna tell him what you really think.
I was waiting for the payoff right here.
But the parts of me that respond to people's reaction to my whiskey died so long ago.
Yeah, like he won't care. Like you know what I mean? Like, but now that I told him it like right before I tell him no, and there was like that whole like effect. It's like
no, it always makes me happy, man. I appreciate honestly, that. And to be held up there with Murphy's stuff. I mean, like I long said that he's one of the best in the game right now.
I mean, it's genuinely bottom of my heart, and I'm being honest. And these guys know I don't usually like bullshit. If I don't like something, I'll just say it. But this 100% is up there. So to give some notes, and because it falls in that category, and I was just talking about them over the weekend, kind of like that. This is my profile when it comes to American Single Malt. Butterscotch, 100%. I mean, you're gonna get that. Obviously, that's ex-bourbon influence. But the thing I love and what you kind of talked about, and again, why I wasn't totally reacting is because you talked about those fruit notes, because it is 100%. You put this in it, I could fool people that this is a space side. So apricot, more dried fruits, dried pineapple, like when you get that like in like cereal, that kind, or like the dried strawberries that you get in like healthy cereal when you're a kid, but you're like, this is kind of good, but it's also fucking Special K. It's actually like really good.
It's I'm going to interrupt because I always got and never raised this, but the pre-package of like instant oatmeals that came with apple, the ones that had that weird chewy apple in it with cinnamon, that was like I get that every time in this, and I've always kind of kept that one to myself.
100%. Because like I was getting like brown butter, but I was trying to figure out if it was like brown butter, if it was more of just kind of like that. And I don't mean this like when I say artificial sugar, that's not like a negative thing. That's just that taste. You kind of get that like that kind of very sugary, that bright sugary, like when you think of just straight cane sugar. That's kind of what I get. And it's so beautifully balanced. I think at first, like when you first start drinking whiskey, you never really look for balance. But the more you go on, that is like what you're searching for. Because you sort of know which things you like. So you can kind of like, it's all right here for me. It's not like this. It's not too sharp. It's not too dull. And for me, it's perfectly balanced. So again, the only other note is the spice in the nose. Definitely a little bit more like white pepper. Not so much like, not like cracked black pepper, but like a white pepper. It's subtle. It's not super, super like crazy, stab your tongue kind of thing, but it's subtle. I like it. So those are my notes. That's my nose notes.
What about you, Brian?
Exact thing. I said dark apricots covered in, or like a roasted apricot covered in dark chocolate, like an after dinner drink or aperitif that you would have. Then roasted sunflower seeds. For some reason, that just came across on the nose.
Sunflower, you say?
Yeah, roasted sunflower seeds.
I can see that.
I get that entirely. It's got that oiliness that roasted sunflower seeds have.
Do you guys bottle it? The distillery too?
Yeah.
What are you guys, Springbank?
I would
That's
love
amazing,
to say,
dude.
I would love to say that we care that much, but we're also that staffed. We're starting out, man. Like, we got to do everything ourselves. We got some good backers, and we're really proud of what we do. But people here hustle, and we know that we need to hustle if we're gonna make an impression in these first couple of years. We're gonna have to hustle, and everybody here is on board.
That's
Absolutely, all of the notes you're getting. This is, I wish I could take sole credit or any credit at all in this regard, but like, this is a team effort. This is great whiskey laid down by my distillers. This is an amazing blend that's presented to me by my lead blender, and we work all this together. And we shave off the edges, but like, everything that we're doing here is every level. People are giving all of their passion to it, and I'm glad that that's coming across.
Yeah.
Now, balance is something that really matters to me. An unbalanced whiskey drives me crazy. I won't not drink it, but like, it bugs me. I want to have some sort of evenness to the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, off the palate alone, you have something that starts off smooth and then goes up, and then it's still going. Still, I just had something a minute ago, and normally a whiskey just dies out in the very end, but I still have it in the back of my palate, and I'm still enjoying it.
It's the tannins, man. It's like the leather notes, man.
Yeah, those leather notes are huge, and one of the best ways for me to understand any whiskey at all is just a simple pour with one ice cube allowed to slowly give itself over, because you have that development of flavor as things proof down, and it slightly warms up from all the exothermic reaction, and then you have that release of the alcohol soluble oils as they kind of form themselves in this ever decreasing proof, and it just changes. And to me, some people like to drink everything straight, but if I really want to get to know something, I drop an ice cube in it and I just have it over time.
It's
well,
what barley strain is this? Is this golden? This is not golden. Obviously, it's estate grown. So, do you guys have a specific strain that it is, or are you using something? It's just an estate grown.
Yeah, it's just an estate grown.
Okay, I was just curious. I'm a barley.
Yeah, nothing fancy. The fanciest thing we have is the corn.
Oh, okay. I was just.
The corn set. I was just reading about that, actually. I'm so glad you brought that up, because it says it's an earth tone heirloom corn. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, earth tone corn has. I am kind of completely sold on this idea of let's find unused corns and try to make something out of them. You don't get as great of a yield when it comes to crop growth. Yellow dent.
What color is the corn?
Oh, it's every color.
It's multicolored.
Okay. It's multicolored, and sometimes they come across all green. Sometimes they come across all orange. I'm just gonna quickly grab some so you can see kind of the variety.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is like in class when the teacher had prop. Oh.
That was supposed to be a joke.
Wow.
You guys.
I know. I knew it was, but I was just like, did she just make it?
I make so few jokes.
I know.
Wait a minute, I missed a joke?
That was a pretty good joke, dude. It was edgy too. I love it.
Joe's cracking up. You can't see him, but Joe's cracking up.
That's so good, dude. That was so good.
That was amazing.
Don't explain it to me now. Now I have an Easter egg. I gotta listen to it.
You guys didn't even laugh. I made me be like, okay,
maybe
I was shocked.
That was one of the best jokes we've ever had on this podcast.
Yeah, that was pretty good, man.
So back to Earth Tone's corn. I mean, very serious.
Sorry. I'm being disruptive this evening. I apologize.
Let's see if I can do this in a way. There you go.
Oh, there it is.
See some of the colors there. This one is all green.
Crafts back in there. These make cornucopias.
Yeah.
That's new.
So you can see kind of all these different I mean, it's a little bit lighter and more yellow when it's in the field. These are dried out from the harvest last year. But these are, this is not your standard corn. This is an interesting, selectively grown heirloom varietal. And corn's wild. I mean, it's been so domesticated at this point that it can't reproduce without our contribution to it. But while at the same time shaping our entire society. So you kind of have to wonder who domesticated who on this one. It's a really interesting plant. And this one in particular, I mean, just the fact that it's not your standard yellow dent, nothing against yellow dent, but just variety. That's what Estates Distilling's all about, is that you're giving people options they wouldn't get somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think it's that time where we ask a fun question. And Martin, I think you're going to do the lead-in because I'm not going to do it again.
What is it?
What is it? Oh my god!
Wait, do we have one?
I don't know. So typically we would ask, like when we first started this show, we would always ask the squirrel question. So it's kind of worn out. So we were kind of trying to work something else into the mix. So I'm
down for any question.
Yeah, you're our guinea pig. So Martin has done some.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
I just did some careful research in the last 55 seconds.
Okay.
So,
all right. I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah. So check it out. So what we're going to do. So again, you did miss the squirrel questions. I'm kind of sad because I bet he would have had an amazing squirrel themed question.
I
already got, So I feel like you mentioned a couple film terms, and again, I'm kind of a film nerd.
Mm-hmm.
But you write well also. Let's not put that to the side. You write well also. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we can if you want, we can just keep heaping praise on me if you want. No. Anyways, but no, so if your whiskey was a film, what film would your whiskey be?
Blue Velvet.
Wow, that was quick.
Just kidding. Not Blue Velvet.
Oh, I get it. I know that scene you're talking
about. No. I mean, I did. You gotta give respect to David Lynch. He's an important man.
David Lynch was amazing. Yeah.
Let me think about that.
Dennis Hopper as
whiskey. Well. And Isabella Rossellini, Kyle MacLachlan.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if my whiskey was any film, what would it be? I mean, I might stick with David Lynch and go Straight Story.
Okay,
which is lesser known David Lynch. It's more of a straightforward David Lynch film, but it is kind of on the surface exactly what you expect, and is made with intention and care.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have any of the weird stuff that Blue Velvet does, but I think maybe because we just lost the man.
I think it's in your heart. Yeah.
I mean, there was very few people that I think in film that mattered as much to me as he did. He was huge to me.
He was a renegade filmmaker, man. Like he did his films are not easily digestible, but at the same time are so widely known and popular. You know what I went with? Magnolia.
Oh man.
You know why?
Is it
bunch of each one of these different stories, but there's a through line in every single one of these whiskeys. So and that's what Magnolia, if people don't know, it's a movie that's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson with a bunch of different stories going on, kind of all connects at the end. And that's kind of what this one is for me, 100% Magnolia.
I really like that movie. I think for a Paul Thomas Anderson film, it gets a little, sometimes it gets some hate on. I understand, but I also I also like Amy Mann a lot, so that makes total sense to me.
Yep. Wise Up, great song, and she did the whole soundtrack, but that was such a great moment. But yeah, it's like 3.5 hours long. I think that's why it gets a lot of hate. So yeah, no, I like that answer. Thanks, man.
That was great.
That was. I'm not a movie buff at all, and that was great job, gentlemen.
I'm an obsessive movie watcher.
Yeah,
well, you just met your match with Martin.
Yeah, I wrote something down in the group chat that I don't think I should repeat on here because
Eraser.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know that movie either.
that's Joe.
I don't know any of these movies. Okay.
David Lynch.
Wow. Makes me feel not cool.
I did that one.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. You wouldn't go well with milk.
No.
At the Corova Milk Bar.
This is kind of some inside baseball and film and literature right now. We could take this really, really deep if you want, but maybe that's a Patreon thing.
I can talk baseball. I just can't talk movies.
And see, now I can't talk baseball. Fuck.
Yeah,
That's why we're both here. That's why we're both here.
I have to fake almost all of my sports interests. At most of the time, I have no idea what they're about. I'm really into other sports.
Yeah. That's okay. Everybody has their thing. Everybody
does have their thing. You're absolutely right. That's what makes the world great.
Makes the world go round.
Any releases coming up you can talk about?
For us, for the moment, we're just going to be focusing on entirely getting the flagship going and making sure that we have a really good launch. We want to be national, and we want to be national in the first few years where we can really make a difference. I think everybody here is a bit of a, we have a workman's approach to our craft, which is one of the reasons we make such good stuff. I don't think anyone here is a prima donna, and we want to make sure that our dedication is spent on the things that we know we can get right. We know we can focus on the flagship. We know we can grow this brand, and we know we can bring something that's from the high desert to the rest of the country. There's not a lot that people understand about this part of the globe. The high desert, we're at 5,000 feet here. And, that it does kind of change stuff. You get a little bit more sun-baked. You get a little bit more cold, and that has an interesting effect on the whiskey by giving a character and making it a little bit more rugged, but hopefully in a balanced way that still comes across smooth.
Nice.
Well, I can say it absolutely does. This is great.
Yeah, this is very good. I'm on the rye now, and
I went back to the single malt because I liked it so much.
So the rye is 80% rye, 10% wheat, 10% barley.
Okay.
It's also aged in both American and French oak.
Really?
Yeah, there's a small amount of French oak in there. It's not very much, and that's it. But it does give it a bit of a character that helps shape. It really helps shape the flavor profile. Without it, you can tell there's something missing. It's kind of hard to explain what it brings in, except it just fills a void.
Is it French oak staves or is it French oak barrel?
French oak, it's just heads on a couple of barrels.
Okay.
The rye.
Wow. Okay.
The rye is my favorite right now. And I think the rye's my favorite because it's something new for the rye drinker, and that citrus quality that comes across is just very damn cool. I mean, to me, that is just so neat.
Man, you West Coast rye makers, man, you and Corbin Cash, dude. I don't know what it is. You guys redefine the way that rye tastes to me. You guys, Wisconsin, Driftless Glen and them, you guys just redefine what rye is, I think, and it's so cool to see this stuff coming out.
It tastes like an orange creamsicle.
Yeah,
I know, right? That is the rye is
so
really
good.
Phenomenal.
Oh man,
yeah.
This is not good. I have to have surgery in a couple days, and I want to finish this bottle before my surgery.
You don't have to. It's not a race, buddy.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that you could get a citrus flavor from a rye. Usually people will, at least what I've learned over the last, few months is people will get dill notes or they will get minty flavors from rye.
And this is a winter rye. This is a winter rye no different than any other winter rye you've ever had. And that's going to be the majority of all rye whiskeys. And this is what we're talking about when it comes to terroir, is that you have that quality that only can come from location. And this was a big eye opener for me too when they were giving me the tour and seeing if I wanted to be part of this project. Because to me, I'd never tasted a rye like this. And even new make, it has qualities in it that you just won't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
You, sir, did a phenomenal job. And
I'm a fan.
Distillery in the right direction, helping it out. But kudos to you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
So we have one more question that we all love, that we've always asked, that we will continue to ask because it's our favorite thing to ask people. So we always love to hear about your favorite whiskey memory or spirit memory. It could be anything. It could be from childhood, seeing adults drinking. It could be whatever it is. We want to hear about your favorite.
Yeah. No, mine is I got one for that. So I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up on Cape Cod, and I grew up with a family as part of the fishing industry, and that's what a lot of kids are. And so one of my really good friends, a dude out there named Mike Gibbons. Mike Gibbons is an awesome guy. Mike was like Mike was the answer to small Northeast town hip hop. He was like the kid who was rapping at 12. And
I like him already.
Yeah, no, Mike is the best. Mike is the best. He still is the best, man. He's awesome.
Is he still rapping?
Oh God, I hope so. I doubt it, but I really hope so.
Mike, reach out to us if you're rapping, brother. I want to hear from you.
He turned me on to great music. Like he turned me on to great he gave me my first Iceberg Slim novel. Like the guy just knows everything. And so Mike and I used to on occasion go down to the beach and we would have a bottle of just Johnny Walker. Now, Johnny Walker, great thing to consider. Nothing against Johnny Walker now. I've moved on. But to me, as a young man, and I was a good boy, I didn't drink until I was 21. But when I was in my 20s, having those nights at the beach where we just talked about life. Sometimes we would like swim out to a boat that was just moored offshore, and we would just drink whiskey on someone's boat. I mean, we didn't know the person, but it was just these it was just this ritual of spending time with friends in a quiet way, because I was never one to go to parties. I didn't really like the big sound. I wanted to like sit with a friend, and we would just stare off in the distance and look for as many shooting stars as possible and just talk about where we were in life at the time and kind of where we wanted to be. And I think about that because I think as you get older, and I'm going to be 47, you lose friends. You see kind of how lives go good. You see how they go poorly. But one of the things that we often don't give each other enough credit for is when we're younger, is that there's a lot of discussion when you're younger about where you want to go. And it's very much an act that we think happens to us, but it is something that you are considering and experiencing along the way. And some of my first drinks were with one of my best friends, contemplating life and looking at the cosmos on some rich weirdo's boat that we completely hijacked. That's a great early drinking memory to have. And mind you, we never littered on it. We were just looking for a place to swim and go look at the stars.
Well, yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, I'm glad you cleared that up, because I'm pretty sure he's listening to this podcast right now.
Whoever the stranger is. Oh, I know. I found that Johnny Walker
like,
red label.
Finally, I found him.
There was like 4 or 5 nips right there.
Yeah. He's like, I've been drinking Minden for the last 3 months, and I like it, so I'm not going to give him shit for it.
Yeah, but that was an early thing. And if Mike ever hears, and we stay in touch, so cool. So I'll tell him that I
find out if he's still rapping. I want to know what he's doing now.
Yeah.
He's a one. I can tell you one thing. He's given a lot of his energy just being a really wonderful dad.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, again, that is our favorite question, because we've had so many different answers, because there's obviously so many different backgrounds and people, and genuinely our favorite. So we appreciate that. That goes into the log of
thank you for sharing. Stories. We love hearing stories. Me specifically, I love hearing stories like that.
Look at her. She's glowing over there.
I'm happy.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Well, we really appreciate it. And everybody out there, no matter where you're at around the world. Well, before I do that, really quick first, Joe, do you want to push out any of your socials for everybody to talk about? Is there anything you would like to share to everybody out there first before we end this podcast?
No, man. Check us out on Instagram. online at mindenmill.com. All the usuals, we're out there. And I know that we don't have massive distribution right now, but do not forget about us in a couple of months when we start hitting more states. California, West Coast, East Coast, we're going to be known like butter on toast.
There we go.
Awesome. Yeah, baby.
All right, everybody. No matter where you're at around the world, remember a bourbon or whiskey with friends can change the world. Cheers. Thanks, Al.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, guys, I want to thank our sponsor, 10th Mountain Whiskey. You can find them on all social media platforms, as well as 10thwhiskey.com. You can use the code BWF15 for a 15% discount. That's pretty cool. Get some money off. Buy your friends something. Buy your family something. If your friends like whiskey, if your family likes whiskey, you can buy them that. But if they don't, you can buy them a hat. We'd love for you to go there and check them out and buy their products. You can also find them in 42 different states through online distribution, as well as 30 states across the country through regular retail distribution, guys. That's pretty cool. And it's growing. Because, well, no, the distribution is growing. We're not getting more states. So basically, if you do have any questions, you can reach out to 10thwhiskey.com. They'll be happy to answer anything that you may have. And of course, we thank 10th Mountain Whiskey for being our sponsor on the podcast.
That's it for this episode of Bourbon with Friends. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a review to make it easier for others to find the show. You can also check us out on Instagram at Bwfpodcast. Thanks for listening.